Welcome again to the S.E.M podcast. I am Zack Hewlett, joined by my co-host Jack Bryce, and today we are joined by our first English friend, Mr. Dan Conway. Dan, how are you, my friend?
Really great. Didn't realise I was going to be the first British lad, but that's great. This is nice. It's nice to see faces, and it's nice to reminisce. Life is good over in beautiful England.
Tell us what part of England you're calling from today.
So I'm in Newcastle. So it's not where I grew up, but it's where I've ended up. With a woman and all that. She snared me, and it ended up this way. So I'm in the very north and the very northeast. So a little bit past me is Scotland. So it's probably about 40 minutes drive from Scotland. So I'm at the very top of England. So that's where I'm calling from. So a long way from London, where I grew up. So yes.
But it's good for you. You're enjoying Newcastle.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I suppose, I imagine everywhere you guys are, every state has got its pros and cons. And the beauty of Newcastle is that you've got a city, but within minutes, you've got really beautiful, lush countryside and loads of kind of really good places to visit, like castles and really good English heritage stuff. So it's got a nice mixture, and I know, and it's right on the seaside, the coast, and so it's a really beautiful sandy beaches. I'm not going to say they're warm because they're not, but it's really beautiful, and we're near the area where all the Harry Potter films were filmed and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, well, just to give you a quick reminder of our format, we're going to talk about pre-mission and your decision to serve a mission and anticipating getting your call and then finding out you went to Scotland. We're going to skip over the mission and then talk about life from mission until now and what you've been up to, and then we'll go back through the mission. So take it away, Dan.
Okay. So I think for me, pre-mission, I was it wasn't a too hard a decision. I had I'd had a testimony. I suppose you get some people obviously come out and they develop the testimony on the mission, don't they? And for me, I think I'd had a pretty good love for the church at that point. And I know I had an older brother that had served, and I think that example, you look to him and he had a good time. And my twin brother, I've got a twin, and he wanted to serve a mission. So we were I don't know, it's something we all wanted to do. But for me, the big thing, anyone that serves, it'd probably be the same if you got a call to Idaho or somewhere, local to similar to near where you grew up. If someone gets a call, I'm not sure that, there's an exception to this rule. But in England, if you get a call to Scotland or Ireland, it's pretty devastating. So when I opened that mission, because obviously it's different now, we used to have paper, didn't it? Now they don't get paper, do they?
Right.
So I remember opening the big white envelope, and I remember my heart just dropping, just disappointment, just gutted. And I was probably gutted for about a few minutes, 5 minutes or so, just kind of disappointment, of all the places you could go, and I'm just going up the road. Because you want to try some different culture, don't you? You want to maybe learn a language, go a different culture, just something that's a bit more exciting, a bit uncertain. So I was disappointed for a few minutes, but pretty quickly you get over it. You accept that's where you're going, and I was fine after a short bit of time of self-pity. I was fine. But if any British person, 99% of them, if they tell you that they were really excited to go to that mission, they're telling a lie. I mean, one's a bit our initial feelings, but obviously for me, the benefit I kept in my mind that made it kind of positive experience was that, for me, I'll go here, I can meet people, I'll make friends, members, missionaries, and if they're British, there's a good chance, they're not far from me. I can see them and be with them. So that was a positive way to look at it. That's kind of a positive aspect I took from it. And yeah, so that was good. That was kind of like more feelings on the matter. And obviously, when you get there, when you get, for me, my journey in Scotland was great. I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't change it any other way. And it was like it's a really lovely experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what was the time frame? When did you get your call there, like close by, and then when did you enter the MTC?
I was trying to think. I reckon I got my call fairly quick. So hang on. I reckon I got my call about June 2004, and then was in the MTC by end of July. So it was probably about 6 weeks. I was about a month after my 19th birthday. I was in the MTC, because that's the only thing with like missions. Remember, obviously, we went at 19.
Right.
Hang on. Here's the first interruption. What's up? Yes. Okay. So, yeah, 19. So I was like, that was one thing because obviously you lose 2 years effectively. Where people could be at university studying. We lost 2 years effectively. So I wanted to go sharpish. And luckily, fortunately for me, my birthday was in the summer. And it just meant that when I got back, because I went sharp, I got back and could go to uni for a matter of weeks as well. So,
that's good.
Yeah, so I was out by July. And because obviously it's a different system over with you guys, I think, if I understand it right, where here you have to wait till September to go to uni. So it doesn't matter. You can't start halfway through the year. So yeah, July, I was in MTC. Yeah. And yeah, that's roughly the time frames. And I got back, obviously, July 2006.
Okay.
So did your twin brother get his call at the same time?
Yeah, it worked out pretty good, actually, because he went to Leeds, so he stayed in England. So he was in the mission exactly below us in Scotland, and he went same day, came back same day. So it worked out really good. And I think, I don't know about you lads, when you got home, it's different for everyone, isn't it? What they experience. But going back and straight away having, a twin, a close friend, a best friend, and to be able to tackle the world straight on with someone, because I think there's definitely people who've gone back and have had no one, do you know what I mean? Well, I was very fortunate where I had a twin brother who just had the exact same experience as me, being on a mission, and then was facing real life together. And I think we had a couple of friends as well, fortunately, just come back maybe 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months before us. So we had a few friends to get back on. So I count myself fortunate in that way.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, you segued it well. Tell us about life after the mission and up to now, what you've been up to.
So, went to Leeds. So I went back home. So I was from Camberley, Surrey, which is about 30 miles from central London. I've been in the southeast my whole life, and I had my eye on a course in Leeds. Leeds Design College. They did like an advertising and marketing course, and it just appealed. I liked it, and I managed to get on that course. As soon as I got back, I continued the application, and within about 6 weeks from that point, I was starting university. So went to Leeds, and one of the good reasons about Leeds as well, I liked it was kind of a win-win where I liked the course there, and it wasn't a course they offered in many places, and that one had a good reputation compared to others. But there was also different in the UK. There aren't too many YSA strongholds, but for YSA and the numbers of young single adults, Leeds was a hot hub. It was like the place to be. You've got London and Leeds, but London more for older single, perfect prime coming in your early 20s. So it gave me a social life, a church social life, which was like it's just, again, I feel for people who've had to go back and they've had like very little social interaction or no group of friends to get to. So I went to uni, managed to make friends with quite a lot of church people there, fitted in, and did the whole single life for about 3 years, 21 to 24. As I graduated, so we do 3 years over here, 3-year course. I graduated, and in my last year, I met Natalie, who became my wife. We started dating. Then after about a year, I finished uni, and about a week after I finished uni, we got married, and we stayed in Leeds for a year. So Natalie is, she's from Newcastle. So we lived in Leeds for about a year. I did like some random jobs at that point. You know when you get into some random that you just graduated, you think the world owes you a favour. You're going to walk into a great job, but I don't know. Yeah. I know for some of you, obviously, different courses and stuff, and some people get more fortunate. But for me, I was doing like some pretty random jobs. Like at one point, I was like, you know, when you're sick and you go in hospital, like over in the UK, right? We have this system where you kind of loan stuff is loaned to you. So like you're loaned items, you're loaned a hospital. It's weird. So if you're sick, it was mainly for people who had long-term sickness at home. So my job was to clean beds for people who died, commodes. You know what a commode is? I don't know what they call it over there.
Yeah.
You know, where the chair toilet.
A bedpan.
Yeah, exactly. So I was cleaning like these people who died, and a few days later, these bedpans. You know, they're flipping old dead people and their crap and stuff. So I was washing and cleaning those beds, and did that for a few months, and just the most random jobs. And then I ended up getting into some social work. So I did for a little while working in children's homes. So obviously I have different names for you guys, but over here, if you know social services take you off your family, let's say you've got some pretty daft parents, some parents who are neglectful, and you're not taking care of your. The social services come basically remove the kids in a dangerous situation if they're in danger or harm's way. So they get put into these children's homes. So they can't find them a home quickly. I'd normally temporarily get put into children's homes. And so you've got some big homes where there's 20 kids, small homes where there's 2 or 3 kids. And so I worked for a few companies, basically with children's, in these children's homes, and making sure they go to school, and this, that, and the other. But you got to remember, these kids, they're from mental backgrounds, so they're not easygoing kids. They're crazy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So did that for a little while, for the best part of a year, and then end up getting into I don't know what we call it over there. Similar name of it, cover teaching, supply teaching. So I ended up kind of doing temporary supply teaching, and what turned out to be a few months turned into 2 years. Did that, got pretty tired of it. I think I'd been burnt out with crazy kids, and then went into I don't know, a few things, but ended up getting into. I did a campaign Hewlett. You might remember, maybe about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Did a campaign and just set up a website called the Extreme Job Hunter, and did start doing some kind of funny, daft stuff to get a job. And then it ended up me landing a job for a vitamin company, so selling vitamins, and that for a couple of years, and then just kind of then led me a career of marketing. So now, the last 4 years, I've been working at a car dealership. I think that's what you call it over there as well, isn't it? So it's an MG and Nissan. I think you call it Nissan over there. So car dealership,
yeah.
And I've been doing the marketing there for the last 4 years, and so that's four. Lucy's 11, then Jack is 10, then Eleanor is 7, and Henry, who's 5. So that's our 4 kids.
That's awesome.
And that's that. We've hung up the boots. That's us 4 and out. We're done. Definitely no more.
You mean they keep you busy?
That's oh yeah, you know the score. So yeah, so work wise and kids wise, that's where I got to, and that's where we're at roughly. So
yeah, good for you.
I think I don't know about you guys,
remember
but
I was just gonna say, I remember your campaign that you did, and the things you did. It was perfectly you, and it got my attention, and I knew that it would get someone's attention enough to get you what you were looking for. So all praise to you because you put yourself out there and you got what you wanted, which was something marketing and advertising, and so well done.
Yeah, appreciate it. It did. It was a lot of fun. Like cringe at a lot of the stuff now, but it was raw. Kind of like, I guess at the time it was quite raw, and the desire and passion was there. But yeah, it did. It gave me an opportunity, and I really appreciated what I got in the end. And yeah, so that's how it's been kind of work wise. I think I'm at the point now where I may be considering another opportunity, but I'm not in an instant rush to figure out what that next step will be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good for you. All right, let's go back to the MTC. Tell us, we'll go MTC and then through the mission, talk about areas you served in, companions you were around, and any of your memories. We're excited to hear all about it.
Okay, do you want me to go through the order, or do you want me to share memories first, or shall I do that?
You can do it as however you like. There's no format to it other than just do it as you want.
First one. So I have a very interesting memory of you. So I think this needs to be aired. So people wouldn't believe this. People wouldn't believe this, but I remember. Picture. You got.
Are you still?
Send a photo of it.
Dan, you're breaking up a little on us.
No,
you're breaking up on us a little bit.
Just start over.
Do it again. Start over.
Can you hear? How am I now?
You're good. It's better.
Okay, so I think you need to come clear and tell everyone the truth about sending photos when you take dumps in the toilet. So you used to take. You can confirm this, and don't think I've ever forgotten about this. So you, Bear, would take photos of when he'd been for a dump and send it to his mum. Sometimes she would take a photo of the dump and send it back to him. I know I don't think he did it too often. He did that though. Can you please confirm the truth? Just make sure I know I didn't make this up. Do you want to try and do you want to try and give a version, try and make it sound any better?
I can't. I mean, it's a weird thing, but I don't know. For whatever reason, my family, the poop humor has always been a thing. I don't know why, but that was one of the things I used to do at home to make my mom. She would get mad at me, and so when I left, I was like, how can I make her feel like she's still gonna be able to get on without me? And I don't know. Thank you for. I'm blushing right now. I feel super embarrassed. But yes, that happened a few times. I can't believe you remember that, Dan.
Can you boys hear me okay? I think I lost you for a moment, but I've removed my video. It'll give me a bit more strength.
Yeah, you're good.
That's better.
Okay. So that's so should we discuss full Champions League final? I think I need to explain that one. So
yeah, we could. I'd be more than happy to hear your side of that story.
Hewlett became a Liverpool fan that day. That's his English team. So we were at the. Tell me if you think this is the right name. The McIvers. It was Amy McIver, and they had. I can't remember Samantha. I can't remember the mum was called. So they were like a family of like two girls, and they were like she was a single mom with two kids. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it was the Vickers.
That's it, Vickers. Why did I think? Oh, okay, there we go. So the Vickers. So that night, it turned out. So Liverpool, my team, that was the they'd made the Champions League final, which is the equivalent to your Super Bowl. I don't know if either of you boys are into that sport. So imagine your team makes a Super Bowl, right? It's a pretty big deal, and that doesn't happen often. You're talking once every 5, 10 years, 15 years. No one who can say. So my team, who I supported since all my life, were in the Champions League final. But it was like, how do we? It started at 8 o'clock, and then we think we're meant to be in by about 9, weren't we? 8, 9. And so how are we gonna get around this? I see my video. Let me back in. So they were like there was always, every ward had a family that were, overly friendly with the missionaries. You could could get away with a little bit with them, and that was the family.
Right.
So I can't remember how, but they must have given us the okay and said, I must have spoke to him and said, can we watch the football? And we went. And obviously with a football game, if you have 90 minutes, 2 halves, 45 minutes for the most. In their case, it was a crazy final to extra time. So it was free. It was free, I think. And then was it penalties or extra time?
I think you better go without the video, Dan.
Finishing up.
Yeah, Dan, we're losing you. Just go without the video. It's just breaking up the audio with the video.
You with me?
But it was good without. You're good. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Well, okay, let's try it. So obviously after 90 minutes, the score was deadlocked. It was 3-3. So then played another 30 minutes, which was extra time. So instead of finishing at 9:40, which isn't too bad as a missionary, you could think 9:30. We were allowed to stay out till 9:30 if we were teaching, weren't we? So 9:40 get away with, but we were then there till about 10:15, and then there was penalties, and I think we must have got home no earlier than 10:30, probably 10:30, 10:45. You think 10:45 possibly. I don't know if you can recollect time at all, but if I was to guesstimate, it was about that. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, I remember I had to basically pry you off the living room sofa at the vicar's house because you wanted to be there for the rest of it. And I'm going to apologize to you right now that was probably not the thing I should have done. I should have said, damn the rules at that point and just enjoyed it. But I don't know. I was too set on being overly obedient that it caused...
You're all forgiven. I think that's what it's one of I think that's the reason you serve mission as a kid, isn't it? And you look back as an adult, but I couldn't serve a mission now. You think, geez, those are rules, and the fact that we took them and accepted them as they were. So, but in the moment, we thought we were doing the right thing. You know what I mean? But
right,
with the rules and stuff. But you look back and you think, oh, geez, but that's life, isn't it? So we must have got back late. So let's say we got back 10:45ish. We've probably been back before 11, but it was a late one, and it was but where I thought we would probably got away with it, the bishop, I think they must have, the girls at the vicars must have mentioned to the bishop, and he called us up. I can't remember, a few days later, and he was nice about it, but he wasn't happy. Do you mean he's he was going down the view of you're there with single sisters, and though he was right, it wasn't in that way at all. It's one of those things that on paper didn't look good, single. Why say girls? Watching football, elders, but it was completely innocent because we were generally there to watch the sport.
Yeah, I agree.
But then he wasn't too happy. And he said, I can't remember, but he wasn't. He wasn't pleased with us. About a week later, I was moved out, transferred out. So sure, had a big part and put up a part in that. Yes, but I positive memory. Champions League final, getting you to support Liverpool. It was a great memory.
I'm glad. That's good.
Any comment you'd like to make on that?
No, I mean, I told my side of the story. I felt at that point in time that it was a thing that needed to be, and again, being an uneducated American and not having been prior to living in Scotland a big football supporter, I didn't understand the magnitude of the game, and so I think I was more I was taking the mick out of you more than anything. Really, I was I'm just gonna. I was basically dragging you around after that dinner appointment when the game had just started. Hey, let's go chap doors for an hour before we go home, and not thinking about it. You know what I mean? And so for me, I thought, oh, I'm doing what's right, but you were just totally miserable the rest of the night, not knowing what was going on, and. I remember we got to the vicar's house. I said, all right, let's go watch the second half. So we must have got there,
Right.
like you said, just before like 9 o'clock, and it was 3-0. And I was like, oh man, this is. If I'm you, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way he's pleased with this. But the fact they came back and won was a huge thing. And I remember, I don't know how you found out the final result. I think you had said that your brother had called your phone and told you what happened. And I was excited for you because it was a big moment. But in that moment of time, I was completely I was so rude about it. So that's why I had to.
I can't remember, to be fair. I have zero memory of that, to be fair. I think I just have memory of the positive other than doing good.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the other thing that I said on my episode in regards to you is I didn't know what was going on before I got there and became your companion. But there was that night that I must have said something to tick you off to the point where you were just done with me and you took off. Do you remember this?
Yeah. I don't think it was anything you'd done personally, to be fair. I think I've thought about this a few times. So I can't remember. What time? It would have been late in the night. So let's say 8:30. 8:30. Like I must have.
Yeah, maybe.
I've done a runner.
I think it was later than that because we had planned. It had to have been after 9 o'clock, and it was dark outside.
Yeah, so it'd been after 9, but obviously I'm having time to reflect on this. At night, it'd be about 9 after 9. I'd slipped out the door, and then I'd basically I think to clear my head, I just went for a walk, and then it ended up being like for I don't know a couple of hours. Like it was pretty not good. And then we come back at that point. I think I'd come back, and at that point the zone leaders must have been round, if I remember. Oh, I can't remember.
No, I don't think. I think so because I had talked to President Vriens, and he just said he said stay put, and then I called Elder Pilkington, and I think Elder Bredlow was his companion at the time, and they came over and hung out and just stayed with me until you came back. But I was still a young missionary. I mean, this was after my first 3 months with Jack, and I was like, I have no idea what to do. Like, I was so new. I was just completely at your mercy, So
yeah,
it was kind of an interesting situation, but it turned out right in the end.
Yeah, no, I think for me, I think I've been out at that point maybe 9 months ish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to do math, something like that, and I think everyone's different. I suppose their journey in the mission, but I think for me, I've been out, hit 9 months, the novelty had worn off a bit. It was a really, in some ways you look at it as a negative experience that turned out to be a really positive experience. I think I'd just kind of been burnt out a little bit. Just I'd come out, the first few months are exciting, it's a novelty, you're kind of getting used to it, but then you hit 9 months, and missionaries hard work, and it's tiring. And I say this to missionaries on a regular basis. If I were ever to have an influence or be able to change something, it would be that missionaries should have at least one full day off, because you don't even get a full day. It's relentless, mentally and emotionally. It's still, for me, I would say probably, if not, the hardest thing or one of the hardest things I've ever done. Mentally and emotionally, it is serious graft. And I think I know, I think it just hit 9 months, and I think it just been burnt out, and just the experience had tired me, and it was good because I think it was a point in which it was a good not turning point, but just a reminder. It's why I'm here, refresh, just kind of reevaluate, what I was doing, and we had interviews the next day, which is probably the worst. Or a couple of days later, it was very a matter of a day or two or something, and. Yeah. And President Vriens, I wasn't sure what he was going to be like, but he was actually really good about it. He was, he just told me, he, in a nice way, just told me to kind of, the old saying, forget yourself, get to work, stop being selfish. Just kind of, get on with it and do it for the right reasons. And it was, that was exactly what I needed at the time. And so it was one of those. I think I just burnt out. Nothing personal or anything from you or anything. Yeah. I just think I got to that stage where I just had to really kind of evaluate what I was doing and where I was going. And it wasn't like serious. I don't think like I was going to go home or anything, but I just think I had to clear my head for a few hours. It wasn't the best way to do it or go about it, but ultimately it helped me move forward and continue and have a good journey on the mission.
Yeah.
It had been a positive journey up until that point, but it was just a time to a point in time where I had to kind of just think about things, reevaluate, reflect, and
For sure.
So,
well,
yeah,
I know you enjoyed serving with me, and we had some good times. Tell us about your start to the mission and who you served with, and what areas you're in.
Sure. So I started off. MTC was with Chris Jones.
Oh yeah.
Really nice kid. Like really different in terms of interests and stuff. I think I'd always had a love of sports, and I think he was more of like a computer guy. And I remember, in fact, I think we'd been out a week or two in MTC, and he said, I was captain of the swim team." I said, "What?" I said, "We've been together like a week or two, and finally you tell me, like, I didn't know you were captain of the swim team." He goes, "No, the swing team." So I was like, dancing. I was like, okay, yeah. So, but that summed him up. Like, lovely lad, nice kid. I think the MTC companion is always a reality check, because suddenly it's that first person you have to spend 24 hours a day for several weeks with. None of us have ever had that, really. And it's like any marriage or even any companionship, you have a clash of cultures, don't you? You both come from families where you've had certain ways of doing things, certain cultures, certain ideology, and that collides, and you have to kind of, it's an amazing thing, really, because you kind of make it work, even though you come from different ways and styles of living, and you might come from completely different backgrounds. 90% of the time you make it work and you get on, and you're going to have those difficult days of disagreements, but it's an amazing education. And that's one thing I always appreciate about the mission, the education it gives you and learning to live with people of completely different, have differences, and still have a positive relationship.
Yeah.
So Chris Jones was a good lad, really nice lad. And then I went to East Kilbride. That was my first area. And I was with Elder Percy. So okay. I think Percy, short guy from California. In fairness, he'd been about less active a couple of years before, like maybe even a year before he went. So he had a pretty good job, like pretty good. Did a pretty good job of coming out on his mission, to be fair, and from his background, I think. But he was like a massive scientist guy. I wasn't very academic, but he was a really good, cheerful character, and we got on pretty good. Like he was a good lad. We were together about 3 months, and then I went to Falkirk, and in fact, let's rewind while we're on this point. Actually, East Kilbride, Bryce. I think he might have come out a similar time to you, like Elder Campbell, really nice, quiet guy, lovely guy. Jacob Campbell. I don't know if he's before you, maybe a bit older.
Maybe it wasn't my group, but pretty close in age.
He was out, and we had a 4-man flat, and we had Zinkowski, who was like out maybe 6 weeks, 3 months before me. Obviously, Zinkowski's have been Mr. Instagram star of like Ukraine, but it's really funny because I remember Zinkowski and Campbell really, like, Campbell's the nicest, quietest guy in the world, but like it's funny because you see Zinkowski in this like really positive light. He's doing a great job and really positive ray of sunshine. But I remember he was a complete nugget to live with. Like it's just like I felt for Campbell because I think Zinkowski didn't know any English, was like struggling with the language. Then he'd been a single child, and I think it was a real wake up call being in a flat with 4 people. And I just remember
he was a bit of a muppet, right? He'd tell a joke in Russian or something and be the only one laughing.
Yeah, he had a pretty bizarre sense of humour. Like, and don't get me wrong, like, what he's doing now is great, and he's been a good example in many ways. But it's funny because I just think, I think like a clash of, like I said, real clash of culture. From wacky European, Eastern European sense of humour with English barrier, and it was just Campbell really struggled. I remember, but so East Kilbride to Falkirk, and I was with This might be your group, Jack. I was with Jared Bradley. So he's a bit of a ghost on social media these days, so I don't get to see much from him. But Jared Bradley, good lad. He was an AP for a bit at some point. But Jared was quite a good. I quite liked him actually. He had a good mixture of like being quite friendly, like having good like people skills, but then also was like quite stern hard worker. Like, and there were sometimes I was like, oh man, really, just like a little bit like, and it's at times where it's like, it is 5 to 9. We will keep knocking doors. I'm like, oh man. But he did have a chink in his armour though. I remember, like, he liked the sister missionaries. You wouldn't appear it like on the surface, but he had like a little secret. Like, it was just like chink in the armour. He like, he said the part, looked the part. But if you got to know him, he liked a good little sister missionary every now and then. He liked a couple, which obviously turned out to be true because he married one in the end, didn't he? So
yes, he did.
Yeah. So there you go.
What was her maiden name? I've been blanking on it. I cannot remember.
No, I can't. Yeah, it's gone.
Somebody, please send us a message and let us know who the sister missionary is that Elder Bradley married, because I could see her face, but I didn't spend enough time around her. I cannot remember.
I've got a name coming to mind here. I've got a name. It's going to be something similar to this. And now I don't know. This is an author's name, like an old British famous author, Catherine Cookson. Is it Cookson? Something like that. That rings a bell.
Cookson? I think you're right. Crookston. Crookston.
There's an author.
Was it Crookston?
I think we're on to a winner there. Yeah, I think you're on to a winner there. Someone will correct us, but it's something along that.
Okay. All right. Well, it is funny. Okay. I love that you recognize that early on in your mission. That's quite funny.
He like and then I'm trying to think. I had Pattenden. So I had Bradley for maybe 6 weeks, and then I got Chris Pattenden, old Patty Cakes, and we were together maybe I can't remember how long we were together now. I'm going to say 6 weeks. And then I think I went to Dunfermline and was with Rayfield. Yeah. Alex Rayfield, again, who's a bit of like a ghost, like a bit of a quiet kind of a name that doesn't get mentioned too often, but Rayfield. And then, no, he wasn't. I was with Craig Rasmussen, then Alex Rayfield, then you, Hugh Bear, I think. Okay. That's got to be it.
Yeah.
I think it's in that order. And then, yeah. So Rasmussen and I were both about 6-7 months at the time, so we were together. So it was pretty young, but like it was quite interesting having been young out together. Then I had Rayfield, who's a bit older than me. One thing I will, if Rayfield's listening, I've got a bone to pick with you, mate. So I've got a bone to pick with him. So one thing that does disappoint me a little bit and hurts my heart a bit is when we serve missions together, especially if you're companions, you consider yourself, that's a special bond, isn't it?
Right.
And like, he unfriended me on Facebook. And I'm just like, I felt this, like, it hurt my heart. I thought it was a bit of a low blow. Like, I don't know what I deserved to do. No, I did deserve this, but I think he's a bit of a funny, like Rayfield, he'd probably admit himself, he's a bit of a quirky character. So I'm not like overly upset by it, but I was like, man, that's like a real blow to the heart. So there's been a few of them.
I like
that on there who
I like that you called them out. Let's get Alex, get on here and let's talk about the fact that you unfriended Dan from Facebook. How dare you? All right,
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt, Rayfield. But there's a few. There's a few others. There's one or two others that have unfriended me, and I don't know if it's because over time you think, oh, it's been a long time, I'm not bothered. But yeah, anyway, so Huey Bear was with you, and then after you, I got sent to the Highlands, and I was with Ross Ballock. Don't forget Ross Ballock's a character there. Yeah. He's a ghost on social media as well, like Ballock. And then,
what was your area? You said the Highlands. What area?
Yes, it was Invergordon then.
Invergordon.
So, yeah, so Dunfermline to Invergordon, which is like I think it was the Allness branch or had been the Allness branch. Invergordon, had Ballock for 3 months. And then I had Howard, Jason Howard. Remember good old Howard?
Mm-hmm.
Quiet, shy lad, always asking a million questions.
Everyone used to call him Tim, I remember, because of Tim Howard.
Right, the football, yeah. Good shout. He was a lovely kid in terms of, he was like very innocent though. Like the kid, like the sort of kid that never been allowed a sleepover and stuff. Like really kind of sheltered, proper. Like he was like the hardcore. The bad. When people get a bad. For those from Utah, get a bad rep. He was that rep where it's like the kid from Utah had never been allowed a sleepover and wasn't allowed to do anything. You know what I mean? But lovely, really nice kid.
Yeah, I liked Brother Howard a lot.
Very naive, but lovely kid. I think that's fair. He a really nice, innocent kid. Then after Howard, I went to Greenock, and I was with Chris Mace, chunky Chris Mace, big Chris Mace, not skinny Chris Mace. They're cousins, aren't they? But blonde Chris Mace. I was with him. He was dying at the time. Was Chris Mace your group, Jack? Is that your group?
No, he was younger than me.
So he was dying, and I think we were together 6 weeks, 3 months. I can't remember. He was dying, and I think the first transfer we were fine. I think the second transfer he was getting so close to the end. We was finding it hard, which at the time I found difficult. But then when I was dying at the end, I can you appreciate and have understanding and empathy, don't you?
Yeah.
So Chris Mace, and then I had Chris Harlow. So Chris Harlow, who was an English lad, I had a few English lads. So Chris Harlow for 3 months, and then I went to Dundee for my last 3 months, and I was with Matt Guyman.
Yeah.
So nice kid, Matt. And then my last 6 weeks, I was with Bobby Nettleship. Another English lad, and he killed me off, and I felt so bad for him. He'd been out 3 months, and my last 3 weeks it's just painful. It must have been extremely painful for him because he'd only been out a few months. But just was like the last 3 weeks, your motivation just dies, doesn't it? Like for me, and your desire, you're thinking, I'm not going to see these people again, and your desire and motivation wanes. And he was really good about it, to be fair. But that was it. That's my areas and companions.
You served with a good group of people.
All lovely people.
Quite a superstar roster there.
There's lovely people. They're all great in their own way. I mean, all of them great in their own way.
I love it. So is there, as you look back, is there certain instances in your mission that you recollect on more than others as far as memories are concerned?
Well, I've got a good one. Like this is like it was just before you came in Dunfermline. So remember Elder Bredlow and Logie Bear, Loganberg?
Yeah.
So Logie Bear and Bredlow were serving together. Were they still serving together when you came, Huey? They must have been, or one of them must have been.
Loganberg got moved and Pilkington came in, but I was with Bredlow for a little bit.
So, do you remember in the mission we had a little phase where, because of Bredlow in German, in mission zone conference one day, President Vriens was like, verboten. Sleepovers were called verbodens, forbidden. Yeah, so it became this thing where we're like, let's have a verboten tonight. I mean, so he's like, so obviously it got to Moves Call. Oh no, it wasn't Moves Call. Anyway, so I was with Rayfield, and just prior, it might have been with me and Rayfield, Bredlow and Logie Bear. They were looking for a flat, and they lived with us for about a month in Dunfermline, and they kept playing. Like basically, they'd mess around with us. Then one night, they got to their new flat, been there a couple of weeks, but still had a key to our flat. And so obviously, so one night I came in, and this is absolutely true, right? So I came in one night. Let's say we came in normal time. Let's say we're in like 8:45. So potted about. went to bed, let's say 10:30. So went to bed, got in bed, and I could hear this scratching on the wall, like it was a tapping sound, a scratching sound. So I was like, "What?" So at this point, I looked under. I can't remember what I did. Like I was like, "What is going on?" So looked around, couldn't see anything. Next thing, they were scratching at our door. At this point, bear in mind, I've forgotten they've got a key to our flat. So scratching at our bedroom door. It's 10:30 at night. I honestly think like hell and its demons are like at the door. So I was like, oh. So I opened the door, and they like one of them jumps out from in front of the door, and one comes from under the bed and grabs my leg. And honestly, I was absolutely petrified. Like, and I was literally trauma from that point. Like, I went through a phase where I did struggle to sleep at night and stuff sometimes, and that's definitely because of that post-traumatic stress from that. So anyway, so that happened, and we wanted to get revenge. Now, Huey Bear, you probably I would have maybe mentioned this at the time, but maybe long forgotten. But so we wanted to somehow plot revenge. So Rayfield came, and so we were like, right, what are we going to do? So we went to Asda, and they sell these like chocolate laxatives. So
all this story is coming back to my head because I remember Bredlow telling me this. Oh my gosh! Keep going.
So we had these chocolate laxatives, yeah, and it was like a little chocolate bar, and there were 24 pieces in the pack. And so I looked at the recommendations, like, what we're going to do. I said, I've got a great idea. I've seen these chocolate laxatives in Asda. Let's go around the house, have a sleepover, have a Bowden, and let's have hot chocolate, and we'll put it in their hot chocolate. So Bredlow and Logie Bear, unsuspecting. So anyway, we go round. I'm like, right, who wants hot chocolate? All innocent. And like Bredlow like raises his hands like, yeah, sir, I'll have some hot chocolate. And like, but Logie Bear was like, nah. And I was like, man, no, I want to get them both. So anyway, so we've got. I looked at the directions. And it said recommended dose. Recommended dose was one chocolate tablet, right? So I was like, man, how many opportunities will I have to do this? So putting 12 tablets into Bredlow's, 12 chocolate laxatives into Bredlow's hot chocolate. So anyway, gave him the hot chocolate. He drank it like it was the best things he's ever had. So he drank it all up. So I was like, we've got to get Logie Bear. He can't get away with this because he was proper instigator and like playing the pranks on us. So anyway, I waited about half hour. I said, right, who wants another round of hot chocolate? And Logie Bear I thought, come on. Logie Bear's like, nah, I still don't fancy it. But then Bredlow was like, yeah, I'll have another one. So I was like, oh, my conscience at this point was like, had gone. And it's like, what do I do? So anyway, so we put another 12 tablets into his hot chocolate.
Oh my God.
So at this point, he had 24 times the recommended dosage. Recommended dosage, one tablet. He's got 24. So he drinks it all up, living his best life. And so at this point, I was like, man, what is going to happen to me? So anyway, we go to bed. And that was fairly late. Let's say that was 9-ish, 9, 10. Anyway, we all went to bed and nothing happened for a while. And I remember probably 3 o'clock in the morning, I just remember hearing this groaning noise. And I looked up and there was Bredlow literally clutching his stomach, sprinting to the toilet. All right? So he sprints to the toilet, and I'm not joking. This is absolute truth. He was on the toilet for the next 24 on half an hour, off half an hour, on half an hour for at least 24 hours, a full day. So he's like seriously worried. He was worried, and I was like, I can't tell him because if at that point I told him, he would have killed me. You know what I mean, literally. Physically killed me. And I remember at that point, Huey Bear, you weren't there, so I had Rayfield, who was like just the same size as me. Like I had no one to protect me. So I was like, I'll die. So I left it. So I left it a few days. So I was honestly the next day I was so worried because he went to doctors. Like about a day or so later, he had to go to doctors because he was like that ill. So I remember praying like, please don't let him die, please. So I was so worried. Anyway, after about after about a month, I can't remember, a month, 6 weeks, we eventually told him, and he was really good about it. But yeah, so he got 24. One tablet was a recommended dose. He had 24 of the poor guy. Probably his insides probably died. We're ruined for life. He's probably scarred even to now.
He got a free clean out. I'm sure he's fine.
Detox. What they call it? Detox. Not my idea of a detox, but you know.
No, nobody's. That's. Oh my gosh, I'd forgotten about that story, but I do remember either you or Bredlow told me that when I first got to Dunfermline, and I was like,
right.
My gosh, I'm dealing with an attempted murderer.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we had some good times at their flat. I mean, they got that flat that was on the way to the high street, if you remember.
It was on top of the morgue.
Right, that's exactly right. I forgot that. It was because I remember the hearse driving through the driveway into the back. But yeah, that flat.
I always found it a bit creepy.
Awesome. Really?
I found it a bit, like it's like the thought that there was dead bodies within feet from us, underneath our very like where we're sleeping, directly in the room beneath us, were probably dead bodies. You know what I mean? Because it would have been a chapel of rest, and so we would have been sleeping on top of dead bodies. That thought was always uncomfortable. So
I'm glad you thought about that too much, because I didn't care. I was like, I was not thinking about that. That's too funny. No, I remember our tradition of face masks. Do you remember that? On transfer night, we used to go get like facial cleanse masks, and we'd all wear facial cleanse masks before we got our calls from President Vriens, and then we'd make. I think Jack and I did this too. We did chimichangas. Do you remember that, Jack?
Oh, sounds right.
Huey Bay, you introduced me to them. They were amazing. I'll give you that. You won't remember that, but you introduced me to them, and I've since then, no joke, Mexican is my favourite food. Like, just love Mexican, and I think it's probably take credit for that.
I will be glad to take credit, but I'll have to yield that credit to Jack, because that was something that we did on our moves night, and I kept that up for a little bit, but eventually my metabolism must have changed, because I just couldn't handle the greasiness of those things anymore. I mean, they were good at one point, then not anymore for afterwards.
Well, they used to be fried in the fat, didn't they? They're like proper deep fried, weren't they? Like,
right, yeah. We'd heat up the oil on just the stovetop, and then we'd throw them in there, and they'd fry up and flip them over and do the same, and it was just a crunchy taco. They were delicious, right? It was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, good. Well,
go
ahead.
No, so I've got a spiritual one, but we can chat if you want to ask any questions before we can. I've got like a nice one to kind of
carry on. I like it. Go ahead.
So that was the comedy one. But I think spiritual, like nice experience. Me and Jason Howard, we taught a woman, an old lady called Eveline Lowney. So when we were in Invergordon, so bear in mind it was literally up in the Highlands, and I can't remember if you boys served there at which points, but it was the smaller branches, bigger, more countryside, less people. It's just a lot harder to do missionary work at the time, and we were knocking doors. And it was a bit like a cheesy ensign story, to be fair, but we were knocking doors, and we got to there was one house that clearly looked like someone didn't live there. Like the bushes and trees were massively overgrown. In fact, I was certain no one lived there, because it was that neglected. It was obviously someone hadn't lived there for a little while. Now, obviously, the house was getting ready at some point, and someone would be moving in, so there was a bit of time. But the usual. Thought, well, we'll knock on the doors. We're not in a rush to go anywhere. We'll knock on it anyway. And so we knocked on the door, and we must have been heading out at this point, because she was old and frail. But eventually someone answered the door, called us, and we're like, oh, right, there's someone's in. We went back, and it turns out she was 84 at the time. And, it's not many people at 84 who kind of want to learn about church. And at first I remember thinking, she had quite, like, for her age, she had really kind of open and quite, open young views. Someone who would potentially have the attitude to learn and about the church. I remember thinking, I definitely get a good feeling about her. And when you can hear the conversation coming to an end, we chatted for about 10 minutes or so, and she was like, well, thanks for talking, but I've got, kind of wrapping it up. Yeah. I thought, what we're going to do, we're going to lose her, and I just have a really good feeling that we could work with her. And I was literally snatching, desperate. And as she's like about to close the door, I was like, do you mind if we have a drink? And it was like it was the summer, and it was a warm day. And she's like, yeah, okay. So she let us in for a drink, and the rest was history. She let us in, and then she started asking questions. Before you know it, we were sitting, we were talking with her, and over the next 6 months, she would visit her pretty much every day, because we didn't have many people teaching that area, and she loved it because she was like an elderly single lady whose husband had died, at least 10 years before, had no children, no relatives, and she literally loved doting on the missionaries. And it was pretty crazy experience, actually, because she'd been a long time smoker, been smoking for about 70 years. She was 84. She started when she was 14, so about 70 years. Mm. And so you're thinking, word of wisdom issue, that's never gonna happen. Right. But I remember we gave her a blessing, and she was really frail, heavy smoker, couldn't move more than a few feet without stopping to get, to breathe. And we gave her a blessing, came back like 3 or 4 days later, and she was like, boys, and she used to call us by our first names, Dan, Jason, you'll never guess what. I'm like, what's happened? She goes, it's like the first time, for the first time in over 10 years that I've been able to have energy, and I couldn't take more than a few feet without having to stop and get my breath. She goes, but now I've got more energy than I've had in years. And at which point we're like, yes, this is a great sign. And then gradually we taught her. She gave up smoking, and she got baptized. It was a pretty cool. That was a really crazy miracle experience at the time. So
that's amazing.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you guys. In that area, like you said, I'd never made it up that far north, as far as the mainland of Scotland. So there's clearly not a lot happening up there. And I think Invergordon had been closed for a long time before you guys got there, right?
I think they'd had times with the Highlands, they had phases with missionaries, and phases out they'd have them for 6 months, then not for 6 months. On off. So
right. Yeah. Well, and I don't know that there were people directly in Invergordon per se. Maybe Inverness covered them periodically, but I was just looking at a map to reference, and it's quite a ways still from Thurso, but not too far from Inverness. So again, I don't know how often missionaries would have gotten there until you and whoever had served there prior to you had been reopened into that area. Yeah. So, but that's awesome. I love that experience. Thanks for sharing it. One of the questions we've posed to people is your memories of President and Sister Vriens?
Yeah, well, I have a funny one. I always feel like I got a bit duped, because the Vriens, they left about 2 weeks before I ended my mission. And I always feel like I got lost out where, your farewell interview.
Yeah.
So I had, obviously you would have known him for a bit. What was his name?
President Fredrickson.
Frederick. So I had President Fredrickson. I think it was the first time I ever met him, and he met me. And his first ever meeting was my farewell interview, and it was
oh man,
yeah, that's in the Hughes. I'm sure he seemed like a lovely guy and was nice and stuff, but it was just kind of bizarre. Having effectively someone you didn't know. Mm-hmm. So I always felt like I missed out a little bit. I was a bit gutted, but it's one of those things. One of those things. I think one memory I've always got off Vriens is that when I served with Big Mace, Blonde Chris Mace, like I mentioned earlier, he was dying. He was getting near the end of his mission. He was weeks away, and he was just struggling. He was struggling pretty bad. I think he'd lost the will completely. He didn't want to go out at all, and it just became a difficult time. And he'd nearly done 2 years, so he was trying to deal with that, and I think he was struggling altogether, just getting out, reading, praying, and he moved into a separate room. We had, most flats have 2 rooms, and he moved out into the other room, and I was like, man, this is pretty weird, because you think that's pretty strict back then. Now it's like, so what, he moved to another room. But then as a missionary, it's like, whoa, he's moved out of our shared bedroom, which we were meant to be in together, into a separate room. And he just started listening to his old music, which at the time was like, this is apostasy. But, we look back and smile a bit now. But he was struggling. I remember we went to interviews, and I made Present aware that he was having a difficult time. He was like, he was dying. And Present, it's the only, like, maybe you guys heard it somewhere else, but it's the only time I'd ever heard him, like, absolutely lose it. So we were all like, where like interviews, someone's in the interview, so you're waiting outside, you're next or something. So we're out in the corridor, a few of us, and he was like erupting. There was like pure full grown, like to the point, it's like, mate, we better check if there's going to be a full fist going on there. And he was like absolutely roasting. He roasted Mace to death. Like, I just never heard him shout and like go crazy like that. He was literally absolutely on fire. And Mace came out. To be fair, Mace came out, and he was like, it revived him for the rest of our transfer together, and it did, so it massively helped in our situation. But I always remember that about him. Like he was a really friendly, loving guy, Vriens, but I think at times he was happy, in the right time he could put people in their place and say the right words. Like for me, when I did my runner that night, when we had interviews a couple of days later, he was really good about it. I needed someone just to remind me to, stop being selfish, forget me, and think about what, do what you're here for.
Right.
It's not about you. So I love that about him. So it's like a funny experience in a sense, but also like, I like that he had that side to him.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah. Sister Vriens. I remember in East Kilbride, we'd started like getting pigeons. Started like there was like a plant pot out, and like, we had a balcony, and these pigeons started like laying eggs there, like nesting.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so we had this genius idea. It was like, yes, we've got pets. So we started like feeding it like little bits of bread and food, and we like. I remember like we saw these 2 pigeons raise their little baby pigeon. It's like we're like, yes, this is great. We've got pets, and then Sister Vriens, like, I can't remember what happened. It was like some kind of like, she used to do her like cleaning tips and things, didn't she? Went through a phase of doing different things at interviews and zone meetings. And she's like, remember, if you have pests, I said, what about like pigeons? We've got like these pigeons, and she was like, what? I mean, it was like, get rid of them immediately, and was like, and then, at that point it was too late. The pigeons were like, they were grown and stuff. And I remember not long later, a few weeks, months tops, those same pigeons, like the East Kilbride elders had an issue where the pigeons kept coming in the windows and like pooed all over like someone's bed, and this was like, oh, I think we've got some responsibility in there.
Jeez.
And then I'll give one more story about Sister Vriens. Is that when they came over to the UK for like a little reunion, it's been about 3 years, 2 or 3 years. They came to England after the mission, and I went to meet them up. I think I met them. I think it was Edinburgh or Birmingham or something random. I don't know where it was. And they came over, and Sister Vriens got up and she shared this story, and it was the story about me when I was 6. I don't know how it was for you lads, but the reality of when we left the MTC, for me, the MTC, we had the MTC where you didn't have to knock doors or anything. But now I think they went through a phase where they did. But MTC was just a big giant boys sleepover, wasn't it? It was just a load of fun. You're still getting your mummy and daddy still making your meals for you, and they're good for you. It was just a big jolly sleepover. And so when I got to the mission field, I was physically sick, like just pure. Now we didn't have those words, but now looking back, the anxiety I felt at the time was huge. Like I just remember like the reality of like. And every mission, 90% of them had this experience where you realise the reality of what missionary work was. It wasn't those videos that you'd seen growing up where you thought you'd be like, reaping the harvest. It was like, wow, this is really savage, mental, emotional, hard work, hard graft. This isn't what I pictured. And so that reality, those first few weeks, you're fragile. And it's like, wow, this is going to be a difficult, long 2 years. And I remember within the first days, like I was just mega anxious because and I got to the point where like I threw up when we were at the train station. I think it was, or we were getting on the bus or something, and I just didn't feel right. And I look back now, and it was definitely mental. Like I was just like the nerves and anxiety about it. But then I was sick. When we got to the mission home, I went up to one of the spare rooms, and I was like upstairs in bed, and they gave me like Pepto-Bismol. Never heard that in England. You don't have that and stuff. So like I was like, well, okay, this is medicine. So had that, and turned out Sister Vriens. So she was trying to be a good sister, mission president's wife, and was praying for all the missionaries by name. But we had a huge group of like, I think it was like 14. And she was like, please bless Elder, Elder Jones and Elder Wilkie. And then she got to like, and she was obviously getting to like, got through about 13 names and was like blanked on my name. So, oh. And she's like, and bless the elder that's sick. And I can't remember his name. And so everyone was trying not to burst out laughing in the prayer. So that was my memories of her. They were like, they were loving good people, weren't they? And they did the best job they could.
Yeah, absolutely. Your memory of her praying and not remembering names is not the first story we've heard about that. So that's pretty funny. Well, as far as people, as you're listening to this moving forward, I mean, we've got a pretty good list of people, and you've given us, your companions that you've spoken to. I could tell you Elder Harlow and Elder Nettleship are on our future people that are willing to be on there. But if you have other people, and Chris Pattenden, he said he'd be willing to come on in the future. But if you have other people that you're thinking of, is there any other missionaries that you'd like to hear from that you'd like to call out and shout out on this episode?
Oh, yeah, actually, one more. Go on. About remember Elder Nilsson? Bryce, is he your group? Who was your group? Who did you come out with?
I came out with Bass. That's probably the one you'd know.
Oh, yeah. He was an amazing singer, wasn't he? Amazing singer, guitar player.
Yep.
Yeah,
do you remember Elder Nelson's first name? Is it Kevin?
Nilsson. It was Nilsson. It wasn't Nelson.
Nielsen. I
know who you're talking about, Kevin. This David Nilsson. So he's a ghost, and I don't see it. I've never found him on Facebook doing his account. And I remember he what was it? It was in Dunfermline. It might have been with you, Hewlett. We were doing haircuts. I can't remember. We were doing haircuts, and we used to cut each other's hair, didn't we? Save money, and someone always had a razor cut.
Yeah.
So you got these electric buzzers. I didn't want to get hair on me, on my clothes. So I took my clothes off, but then ended up taking all my clothes off and put carrier bags, and as the carrier bag or something.
I remember that.
Wrapped it around. So it was you, yes. Wrapped it around my midriff, and we were we got a haircut. And I think Nilsson was there for some reason, or what? We were having a laugh, and then anyway, got my haircut, thought nothing of it. Then he went to the office that day, or he was a traveling AP or something. We did something like that for a while, didn't we? He had things like that. I can't remember. But he ratted out straight away within a day or so. And I remember the next thing, I can't remember, it was at Moves Call, but President Vriens mentioned it, or basically was wasn't happy, and they were too much hanky panky and getting haircuts, and with no clothes on. I was ugh. I was no, who knew about it? It's what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happened in the flat stayed in the flat. But Nilsson, I think, ratted out that day. I was oh man. Oh. So there's loads of people. Elder Wilkie, he was a good lad. There's loads of people who loads of people aren't active on social. Zack, you're obviously you're pretty active, so people know you about and stuff. But I'm pretty bad at posting stuff. But there's so many people that. Obviously I know loads of people have gone their different ways and stuff, but there's so many I'd love to hear from.
Well, give us some more. I've talked to Wilkie, and he's willing to come on. He's just had a busy summer, so we'll hear from him.
We've got loads. I think Rasmussen, again, he's a ghost on social. Craig Rasmussen, he was a good kid. Chris Jones, he's sometimes active on social, you know. And you got, like I said, all my companion, Rayfield. I know I've got a contact with him. I've got a friend who's in his ward, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, reach out to him. I understand somebody else brought him up on an episode and mentioned that I guess his wife is the best person to contact on social media, and then she'll get in touch with him. So I'm sure we'll get in touch with him eventually. I
think Patty Cake would be a good one, Pattendon, because he's had a very close relationship with the Vriens, so he'd have quite a lot to say on them.
Yeah, like I said, he's definitely one that he reached out to us the other day and said he's just in the midst of a busy season, so he'll certainly be in touch.
Elder White.
Elder White.
What
Simon.
His first name is? Yes, Simon White.
He's going to come on in the future.
You got the other Simon. What's his face? He's English lad.
Drew.
Simon Drew, another good lad.
I've reached out to him as well, trying to figure out schedules, but he said he'd be willing to come on if I recall correctly.
Darren Allen, he was a nice kid.
Yeah, I've reached out to him and haven't heard back from him. So,
like I said, a lot of them are like, don't do social these days. It's hard.
Well, but here's the one thing that I've realized is that yes, you may not be on Instagram or Facebook, but you might be on LinkedIn, and you know we're tracking them down. There's a number of us that are connected to each other.
Thing that, it's funny you said it because it's funny because some people aren't active on Facebook, or whatever, but then on LinkedIn, like professional-wise they are. So like I know obviously me and you are on it, but there's a few churches and a few of the missionaries. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it's a good place to connect, and it's like you said, it's a more professional place for socializing.
I definitely want Bredlow. Bredlow would have something to say. He'd have some things to say.
Yeah, I've reached out to him, but I haven't heard back. So hopefully,
I've got him on WhatsApp. I might drop him a message on. I'm sure on LinkedIn and WhatsApp. I'll try and.
Yeah, do it. If you have contact with him or have at least a phone number or something, you can get in touch with him. Let him know, and we'll get him on there because we're actually speaking with Elder Megner next week. So
wow, that is a blast from the past, isn't it?
Yeah. So I would imagine if Bredlow's still in Germany, we could get in touch with him and figure out a schedule that would work. So that'd be great. Anyone else comes to mind?
Can't think. I'll send you some that do. There will be some.
Okay. Well, Dan, I appreciate you coming on. Jack had to drop off. He had an appointment he was running to. But he really enjoyed listening to you and sent me a text just to say it was good to have you on and listen to your stories and your shares. So
likewise, it's been lovely. It's just been lovely to interact and see your face and hear your beautiful voice, and it's just nice to connect, man. It's nice to connect.
Well, and that's really the whole essence of why we're doing what we're doing is because it's been almost 20 years for some of us, right?
It literally is insane.
I mean,
we're old men.
Yeah, we are. I mean, some of us have kids that are getting ready to be on their journey eventually. It's pretty crazy. The time is just blown by, and we're really excited.
I'll tell you a big good one. Rory Grant.
Rory is another one
that's
he's coming on. We had him scheduled early on. He was supposed to be the first English missionary, but he got ill at last minute. So we got to get him back on the schedule.
He's got his cracking story. I remember his amazing story about going home and coming back. So that's definitely that's a good one to be shared.
Okay. Well, we're excited to hear that from Rory in the future. So, well, Dan, thank you so much for taking time. I know it's late where you're at, but we love you. We're so grateful that you took the time to speak with us, and I know that those that are listening are really excited to hear from you as well. So thank you for making time, and we got to see your face for a little bit, which was great. But we love you.
Yeah, It's dark. It's completely.
You're in the dark now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there we go. But I love you too, buddy. And it's been really good. So yeah.
And do your part. Like I said, as this gets published, it'll probably come out in a week or so. Share it with everybody, and those that you're still connected with, and say, hey, I was thinking about you as I was talking about you in the mission. So hopefully we can get some more people that are coming and being a part of this. We've got a great list of people that are coming on in the next few weeks and months. And I mean, it's snowballing. It's been really, really fun. And this is a little sneak peek, but I'm going to send out a special message soon. We're going to have President Sister Vriens on one of these as well.
All right. That'd be class. Interesting to see President Vriens. That'd be an interesting one. Hopefully he's doing okay, but I know he's had his health issues, hasn't
he? Yeah, they both have, but they're still thriving. And so it'll be fun to reconnect and talk with them more in the near future. So, well, I'll let you go, Dan. Love you, brother, and we'll certainly talk to you soon. All right, mate?
Cheers, Zack. Be good.
All right.
Love you, buddy.
Cheers. See you, brother. Bye.